confuse an audience with a visiting princess. Your Grace, if you insist on war, my people will fight to the last warrior. There is nothing to be gained, but much to be lost for all of us. There is no gold, is there?
No. Radcliffe assured me that I was dead. Was it true? Radcliffe has lied to you about everything.
There are many voices around you, but you must listen to your own voice.
Why do you speak out when so many doubt you, even when it could mean your life?
Because I speak the truth.
Are you sure about that? In fact, that is anything but the truth. Because by this time, Pocahontas was a teenager who'd converted to Christianity, baptized under the name Rebecca. But even before that, her name might not have even been Pocahontas. Rather, she was called Amonute. Not to mention that the aforementioned Governor Ratcliffe was kicked from his job long before Pocahontas made it to England. Whew! That was probably a lot to take in, especially since, if you watch this Disney movie and its original, none of this was ever even hinted at in the movies. I'm sure that you only have one question on your mind. Why? Why make such a huge mistake in this movie for the sake of entertainment? Well, it's not just this movie. Watching through some other films, there's actually quite a lot wrong with them respective to the time period, to the story, or the culture. These errors go back to a time when Walt Disney himself, alive and well, made all these mistakes on purpose. The time? 1941, right in the murky midst of World War II. But let's rewind a bit. It's 1937, and Walter Disney was in a good spot. A decade earlier, he'd released his first sound cartoon, Steamboat Willie, a major hit. A little later, he'd released a few more cartoons that introduced a colorful cast of characters like Goofy, Pluto, and Donald Duck, both figuratively and literally. Disney Studio was the first animation studio to produce a cartoon in color. He then decided to try his hand at feature films, which he did. He ended up making some feature films like Pinocchio, Dumbo, and most notably, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Unfortunately, Disney couldn't call those films successes since his audience in Europe got caught up in the war, which meant taxes to support the war, which meant that theaters in Europe didn't have enough money to show Disney's films, which meant that Disney didn't get as much from his movies as he'd hoped. This, combined with his animators going on strike, forced Disney to stop the production of feature films altogether, so as one can see, yeah, he was in a bit of a financial pickle. Then Disney's saving grace came. On February 27, 1941, the president we know as FDR gave a speech that went a little something like this.
We have been seeking to affirm our faith in the Western world through a wider exchange of culture and education and thought. Our government has invited you to do your share of the job of interpreting the people of the Western Hemisphere to one another.
Disney and his competitors were being asked to help the American government to secure relations with other countries through their popularity and their use of entertainment. Sure enough, Walt got a call from Nelson Rockefeller a few days after the speech, asking him to head to South America to help with just that. Disney also planned on making a cartoon or two for the occasion, but he needed extra cash given his financial strain. The bank refused to give him a loan, but the government took the risk and sponsored the mission. By April 18th, Disney and his crew landed in Rio de Janeiro and got to work, researching and filming in between dancing and dining and having fun like it's always Saturday. After a couple of months, he was ready to animate his shorts and release them by 1942. And they were huge successes. Rockefeller said that the films were an outstanding achievement in the development of hemispheric solidarity, while the theaters in South America kept running them. The film Saludos Amigos only stopped running in 1998. But as Disney Studios kept working on their shorts after they returned, something happened. Something that would turn these cartoons from government-requested shorts to full-on war propaganda. Come the December of 1941, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor on Hawaii, pulling America into the war. Then, on December 9th, 1941, the Navy offered Disney $90,000 for 20 educational films on aircraft identification. Not a week later, he got a call from the Assistant Secretary of the Treasury, who offered $40,041 for a couple films to encourage people to pay taxes. And it didn't stop there. The Department of Agriculture, Council of National Defense, even the Conservation Division of the War Production Board all asked for a couple shorts, and Disney, for the sake of American patriotism and keeping his company afloat, rounded up his animators, got to work. Now, Disney put as much effort into making a propaganda short as he would for a regular cartoon, the only difference being that there was a lot more symbolism. You'd immediately know what he was trying to say because of music and color. Music can very easily convey emotions and ideas. Sometimes you can make situations feel entirely different based on the instrument, loudness, and pitch. That's a lot of subtlety in the background already, but what really shoved the point in your face was color. Disney already regularly dealt with color, so he knew his business on it and he knew it well. Red, white, blue, and gold represented patriotism, bravery, and loyalty. Green, black, and red were Axis colors. This was a heaping helping of exaggeration, stereotypes, and beloved Disney characters going to fight for their country, and it's like a regular cartoon. What do I mean by exaggeration? Well... yeah, you get the point. All this just goes to show how Disney put a lot of effort into his cartoons. This didn't mean that much changed because of it. Sure, the short said how Nazism is bad, but they didn't do much else. All this changed, however, when Disney Studios made the hour-long film, Victory Through Air Power. Yeah, all this time, Disney was working on a major documentary with Major Alexander de Seversky, live-action lectures interlaced with animated scenes. Seversky and Disney both believed that only air power could win the war for the Allies. This 1,124-foot film was going to prove exactly that. In the end, not only did Seversky and Disney craft their film to golden standards and receive showers of praise for being immersive as well as educational and even quite persuasive, but, well, although the timing was off by a couple years, I think we all know what happened next. Thankfully, even as Walt Disney Studios continues pulling tricks on its audience as shown in the historical chaos that is Pocahontas, or through other means like the cultural disaster of Aladdin, Disney Studios has shown that they're leaving that old pattern behind, and hopefully, they'll come to an age where they'll think twice before making Donald go to war.